Good morning, everyone. So please do type present in the chat. Well, I would like to remind everyone that you have not submitted your assignments. So please go through your assignment that I have posted already in your Google Classroom. And the other thing is the due date is already over, but still try to go through the problem statement and try to submit your assignment as soon as possible. Well, in our previous class, we were discussing about quadriphase shift keying, abbreviated as QPSK, that which has four message signals: M1 of T, M2 of T, M3 of T, and M4 of T. So these are the four message signals. And over here, I can think of each message to be containing a die bit. So like 10, 00, 01, and 11. And all these message signals have to be in turn converted to signal form: S1 of t, S2 of t, S3 of t, and S4 of t. And because it's quadri phase shift keying, we got to affect the phase part of the signal. So here we'll make use of four different values for phase associated with all the four signals. So here first signal S1 of t will be associated with a phase value of pi by 4. Second signal will be associated with a phase value of 3 pi by 4. Third signal with 5 pi by 4. And last signal S4 of t with 7 pi by 4. And in general, we can denote Si of t as square root of e square root of 2 times e divided by t cos of 2 pi fct plus 2i minus 1 into pi by 4. And remember, it need not be always pi by 4 radian. The angle, you can change the angle, but we do have a reason for choosing pi by 4, and later we'll discuss that. So from this notation, let's try to extract our basis function phi1 of t and phi2 of t. So here remember, because m value is equal to 4, we'll choose n value either equal to 4, 3, or 2. And because of dependent signals, we'll stick on to n value as equal to 2 over here. So now from this equation, we'll try to elaborate this, because this equation down here, it's in a form that which is equal to, so because we already know that cos of a plus b is in turn equal to cos a cos b minus sin a into sin b. So we all know this trigonometric equation. Let's make use of this trigonometric equation back over here. So here it's in a similar form, because I can think of this to be some constant. And this is in what form? Cos a plus b form, where a value is 2 pi fct and b value is 2 times I minus 1 into pi by 4. So when I expand this, I'll get this equation which contains two more terms, and I'll multiply this constant value onto both, and I'll be multiplying this constant value onto both these two terms, where the first term can be called as in-phase component and the second term consists of quadrature phase component. And in fact, we can separate our basis function f1 phi1 of t and phi2 of t out of this. And well, in our previous class, we had gone through a detailed procedure of how to extract basis function phi1 of t and basis function phi2 of t. And whatever is left out, I can call it as SI1 and SI2 coefficient values, and I can have different coefficient values by choosing a specific value for I, because we all know that I can take on values from 1 to 4, because we are having 4 message signals. M is equal to 4. So if I do so, I'll have these set of points. So by using these set of points, I can draw something called as constellation diagram. And in this class, let's continue our discussion with constellation diagram. So this is in the point form where we have substituted SI1 value and SI2 value. And for each value of I, if I substitute I values over here, I can extract some point values. So here, for the very first I value, the phase value associated with that is pi by 4. So if I substitute cos pi by 4, I'll get it as 1 by root 2, and in turn I can uh, integrate it with combine it with square root of e, and in turn I'll land on to square root of e by 2. In a similar way, sine pi by 4 is again results me in 1 by square root of 2, and in turn I can again repeat the same drill over here. And I'll end up with my very first point. So where SI1 is equal to square root of e by 2 and SI2 is equal to minus square root of e by 2. So all I got to do is repeat the same procedure. I got to repeat the same procedure for remaining values of I. So for my second value of I, that which is 2, I'll be using die bit 0, 0, and phase value associated with die bit is 3 times pi by 4. And if I substitute the corresponding value onto this function, and if I substitute the value here, square root of e times cos 3 pi by 4, I'll be getting 3 by 4 as my first point, and the second point will be equal to minus square root of e times sine 3 pi by 4. And what is this 3 pi by 4 equal to? Can I have some quick answers in the chat? What is this 3 pi by 4 equal to? What angle is this 3 times pi by 4 equal to? Can I have some quick answers in the chat? I'm waiting for your answers. What is 3 times pi by 4 radian equal to? Right now I have got one answer, that which says it's equal to 270. Any other answers? Or don't apply cos or sine onto that. Okay, before that, now just tell me what is this equal to? Now just tell me what is pi by 4 equal to? Let me see if you are able to answer this. What is pi by 4 equal to? 45 degree. Yes, it's equal to 45 degree. Now try to multiply this 45 with 3. So this is in terms of radians. This is in terms of radians. Now all you got to do is try to do this multiplication in degree. So it's equal to 45 degree. What is 3 times 45? What is 3 times 45? Yes, it's 135. Now, if the angle is 135, we'll be lying in what quadrant? So this is 0 degree, this is 90 degree, this is somewhere around 180. So this is 180 degree, this is 270 degree. So if I'm having some angle like 135 degree, I'll be lying in what quadrant? First, second, third, or fourth? Now you tell me in what quadrant I'll be lying in. I expect quick answers in the chat. Yes, I'll be lying in second quadrant. I'll be somewhere over here. I'll be lying somewhere in my second quadrant like this. So this is 135. Now the thing is, we all know that ASTC, all students take coffee. So right now over here, in the second quadrant, only sine function is valid. Only sine function is valid. So because of that, here I'm having cos here, but I'm having cos over here. So this in turn results in minus 1 by root 2. I'll be getting minus 1 by root 2. Likewise, here for my second point, we are in second quadrant where sine is valid. Because of that, here I won't be getting any sort of negative sign. I'll just have 1 by square root of 2. And in turn, I can combine these two. Because square root is common in between. And my first point will be minus square root of e by 2, and second point will be equal to minus square root of e by 2. So that is what we are trying to write it in table form over here. So this is SI1, this is SI2, or in general or in specific. So this is S21 and this is S22. So likewise, I can get these two values by substituting I value as equal to 3 and this value as equal to 4. So after getting all these points, all I got to draw is constellation diagram. And constellation diagram is a diagram that which contains all message points within Euclidean space. And because of the fact we are using two phase functions, phi1 of t and phi2 of t, let me first write these two basis functions. And here, for my first I value, where I equal to 1, I have got these 2 points. Where SI1 is associated with phi1 of t and SI2 is associated with phi2 of t basis function. So just for your reminder, just to remind you that, so I'll take you back to this equation. So here, remember, the component associated with phi1 of t is SI1 and the component that is associated with phi2 of t is SI2. Remember this. All I'm trying to do is I'm trying to depict the same thing over here. Depict the same thing over here. So SI1 coefficient value is associated with phi1 and coefficient value SI2 is associated with basis function phi2 of t. Now, if I were to plot this point, in what quadrant I'll be lying in? So this is my first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, fourth quadrant. Now the question is, if I were to plot this point, this value in constellation diagram, or in Euclidean space. Now, in what quadrant I'll be lying in? Can I have some quick answers in the chat? I want to plot this point in my constellation diagram. Now, you guys tell me in what quadrant I'll be lying in. Because first value is positive, the value associated with phi 1 of t is positive, whereas the value that which is associated with phi 2 of t is negative. Now tell me in what quadrant I'll be lying in. So these are very rudimentary concepts. These are very rudimentary concepts. Yes, I'll be lying in fourth quadrant. I'll be lying in fourth quadrant because phi 1 of t is associated with some positive value. So I'll be moving that many units along my phi 1 of t axis. So where this distance is square root of e by 2, and likewise I'll be moving a similar amount of distance. I'll be moving a similar amount of distance, but along what direction? Negative direction of phi 2 of t. So here, this axis, this y axis, represents the negative value. It represents negative value of phi 2 of t. So if I move a similar distance, I'll be moving a similar length of distance, but in the negative direction of phi 2 of t in order to get a point, in order to get our very first message point. So this is our first point, first message point, that which represents our first dibit 10. So this point over here represents our first dibit 10. Likewise, if I were to plot my next point, in what quadrant I'll be lying in? Because both of them are associated with negative sign. Now tell me in what quadrant I'll be lying in. By now we did got to know that our first dibit lies in fourth quadrant. Likewise, yes, third quadrant. Because both of these values are negative in nature, I got to move I got to move I got to move square root of e by 2 length, but because it's associated with negative sign, I'll be moving in its negative direction. I'll be moving in negative direction. So after moving this length, I got to move a similar amount of length, that is square root of e by 2, but in what direction? In negative direction, such that here I'll be getting my second point. Here I'll be getting my second point, that which represents dibit 0 0, that which represents dibit 0 0. Likewise, for my third point, my third message point will lie in second quadrant. It will lie in second quadrant because the phi 1 of t value is negative in nature, but whereas phi 2 of t is positive in nature. So all I got to do is move in this direction from here to here, followed by from here to here, such that I'll be getting my third message point, that which represents dibit 0 1. And finally, for my fourth message point, I got to subscribe a length of square root of e by 2 followed by square root of e by 2, both in positive direction, such that I land onto my final message point, that which represents dibit 1 1. So this thing over here represents m1 or s1 of t, and this thing over here represents m2 of t or s2 of t, and this thing represents s3 of t or m3 of t, and this thing represents m4 of t or s4 of t. So on a whole, we are having four message points that which have been plotted onto this diagram, and we call this diagram as constellation diagram. We call this diagram as constellation diagram, and each of these message points are associated with its own region. Each of these points are associated with its own region, and I can call them as region Z1. I can call this region as third quadrant as region Z2, region 3 as, so sorry, this second quadrant as region Z3, and first quadrant as region Z4. So we have written the same thing. We have written the same thing over here. So this diagram right now represents our constellation diagram. And after drawing this constellation diagram, let's try to derive probability of error. And later, after discussing probability of error, we'll move on with the transmitter and receiver diagram related to receiver QPSK. So first, let's go through this probability of error. Now, in this probability of error, so we all know that either S1 of t, S2 of t, S3 of t, or S4 of t. So out of all these four signals, any one message signal will be transmitted at a time. So let's in general write it as Si of t, and this is being transmitted over what channel? And channel is always associated with this noise. And in turn, instead of receiving just Si of t, we'll receive additional component, that which is W of t contributed by noise. So here we'll be getting X of t, where X of t is received signal. And over here, this X of t in turn contains, we got to right now calculate probability of error. We got to calculate probability of error for die bit, remember. So because it is for die bit, the things gets complicated. Whereas in BPSK, it was just for a single bit. But for QPSK, because we are using die bits over here, there are chances such that we can have error in both the bit portions. So because of which here there is a slight increase in the complexity of probability of error. Okay. So from this received vector, from this received signal X of t, we can extract the observed point x1 and observed point x2 by using this computation. So we all know that we all know that we can extract coefficient values Sij by doing integration starting from 0 to t of Si of t into phi j of t dt. And this will happen at what stage of the receiver? It happens in the correlator stage. We know that correlator is a unit that which contains multiplier unit followed by an integrator unit. So this entire thing of extraction happens over the correlator stage. So, and in order to extract x1 first point, we'll make use of again this integration of this product, where in turn we know that x of t can be expanded as Si of t plus W of t, and when I multiply this phi1 of t and integrate it, I'll be getting this Si1, and here I'll be getting W1. Likewise, here I'll be getting Si2 and plus W2. So after getting these 2 points, consider that the signal S4 of t is transmitted. So right now, at this moment, what we are assuming is we are assuming that S4 of t is being transmitted. And we all know that S4 of t represents die bit equal to 1 1. So it represents die bit that which is equal to 1 1. So let's consider all we are trying to do is in order to calculate this probability of error, we got to assume some signal has been transmitted. So back in our BPSK, we had assumed bit 0 to be transmitted. Likewise, here we are just assuming that signal S4 of t has been transmitted. And the receiver will make correct decision if and only if the received signal falls in the region Z4. So back in our constellation diagram, I can correctly decode or our receiver will correctly decode it. So this was our region Z4, this was our region Z1, region Z2, region Z3. So all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to consider only the regions of our constellation diagram. So out here we can have correct decoding by receiver only if our observed point, only if our observed point phi 1 of only if our observed point, so observed point in turn here comprises of 2 points x1 of t and x2 of t, where x1 of t, for x1 of t I got to move x1 distance along phi 1, and for x2 I got to move along phi 2 direction. So if at all if our observed point x1 of t comma x2 of t falls in this region, only then I can say that symbol, only then I can decode or our receiver can correctly decode that message 1 1 was transmitted. So this accounts for correct decoding. So the receiver will make correct decision if and only if the received signal falls in the region Z4. Accordingly, the elements x1 and x2 both must be positive. So over here, both x1 and x2 should be positive. The probability of correct decision is equal to probability of joint event. So right now, because we this involves two coefficient values, x two observed points, because it involves two observed points x1 and x2. So right now here it depends upon joint event. I can think of this as joint event. So both x1 and x2 should be greater than 0. Since the two events should be greater than 0 and are independent, and these two, remember, these two are independent of each other. It need not be like so. Let's say we are transmitting 1 1, and here is where we are having our channel, and this channel is always associated with noise. So it can so happen that either I can receive 1 1 over here. If I'm receiving 1 1, then there is no error. There is no error happening. But this is ideal case. I can have it as, I can receive it as 1 0, or I can receive it as 0 1, or I can also receive it as 0 0. So all these three constitutes for error, and this is happening because of this noise, and this can happen because of noise over here. And because here noise can either affect first bit portion or second bit portion or both the bit portions, I can think of it to be an independent process. I can think of this as these two as independent events. And because these two are independent events, so back in our probability we know that if I'm having A intersection B, or just A dot B, if both these two events, event A and event B, are independent of each other, then I can rewrite this as probability of A into probability of B. If and only if, I can write it like this, if and only if both event A and B are independent. Okay, there was an internet glitch. Okay, anyhow, I'll share my screen. Okay, right now, by now we did got to know that x1 and x2 are both independent of each other, and in fact, it can be rewritten as p of x1 greater than 0 given s4 is transmitted into probability of x2 greater than 0 given s4 is transmitted. And in turn, we can express this in terms of conditional PDF, integration of conditional PDF like this. So this in turn, this entire equation can be rewritten as in terms of conditional PDF fx1 of x1 given s4, and likewise for the other probability I'll use f subscript x2 given x2, sorry, of x2 given s4 is transmitted dx2. And we already know this conditional PDF. We are already familiar with this conditional PDF, that which follows Gaussian distribution. So I can I can make use of this I can make use of this expression. I can make use of this expression back over here. All I got to do is in the portion of yes ij subscript, in the portion of yes ij subscript, I got to substitute its equivalent value. I got to substitute its equivalent value. So over here, because right now we are discussing about observed point one. So this is our observed point one. So it is associated with basis function phi 1 of t. It's associated with basis function phi 1 of t. And likewise, this is observed point 2. In order to indicate observed point, I am just using this OP, where OP represents observed point 2. So it's associated with basis function phi 2 of t. So because of which, in place of j, because we all know that j represents the basis function value, so here I'll write 1 over here in place of j, and over here I'll write j in place of j as equal to 2. And because I represents the message being transmitted, and we have assumed that S4 has been transmitted, so in place of x, we go to substitute 4, and in place of j, I'll use 1 and 2. I'll use 1 for phi 1 of t, and I'll use j equal to 2 for phi 2 of t. So that's how we have got this expression, this entire expression. Now, all I got to do is substitute S41 value and S42 value. And what are these two values? And in order to get these two values, all I got to do is I got to refer onto my table, that which I have got over here. So this value over here represents S41, and this value right over here represents value S42. And because both are equal to positive square root of e by 2, positive square root of e by 2, let me use these two values down over here. In place of S41 and S42, I'll be substituting these two values. So after substitution, again I'll make use of, so this looks like a very big daunting equation, that which is much more complicated to that of equation that which we went through in BPSK. But it's in a similar fashion, So let me make use of a similar kind of assumption substitution method, where z can be thought of as equal to x1 minus square root of e by 2 whole divided by square root of n naught. And again, I can also equate the same variable z onto the other part. All I'm trying to do is I'm trying to equate this term, over here, to variable z, to a variable z, and we'll be repeating the same procedure by which I got to change the limits, as well as after substitution I'll be, this entire thing reduces to this. And because by now I'm having two different terms of same value, I'll be getting this whole square. I'll be getting this whole square. I can think of this entire thing as x into x. So if I square them, I'll be getting x square. So because of that, here we have substituted whole square, because we are assuming both of these two to be equal to some common variable z, to a common variable z, and in turn I'll be getting this whole square. So anyhow, we are running out of time. We'll continue this derivation in our next class. So till then, stay safe and healthy. And if you have not typed present in the chat, please do type present in the chat, because I'll be ending this session at any point of time.